Morning, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. I pray that you and your families found a way to worship yesterday. And I want to thank you for joining me once again on another beautiful Monday morning. This past weekend, I got a few questions about how long I intend to do these daily devotional videos. And I've been asked if I'm starting the Psalms because I think that the stay-at-home order is going to last another 150 days. Because that's how many Psalms there are. When I started these daily devotions, the stay-at-home order went through April 30th here in Minnesota. And so one of the ideas that I had was to do these devotions through April 30th. But of course, here in Minnesota, that date is getting pushed out further and further. And so my intent at this point is to keep doing these devotional videos through April 30th. And at that point, we'll reassess and see where things are. But I just wanted to thank you all for continuing to join me each day. Thank you for making God's Word a priority during this time. And I hope and pray that you have been nourished by God's Word and by knowing that your covenant community is studying God's Word with you. Today, we're up to Psalm 5. And so I invite you to hear the word of the Lord from the 5th Psalm, where David says, "Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my sighing. Listen to my cry for help, my King and my God, for to you I pray. In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my requests before you and wait in expectation. You are not a God who takes pleasure in evil. With you the wicked cannot dwell. The arrogant cannot stand in your presence. You hate all who do wrong. You destroy those who tell lies. Bloodthirsty and deceitful men the Lord abhors. But I, by your great mercy, will come into your house. In reverence will I bow down toward your holy temple. Lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness. Because of my enemies, make straight your way before me. Not a word from their mouth can be trusted. Their heart is filled with destruction. Their throat is an open grave. With their tongue they speak deceit. Declare them guilty, O God. Let their intrigues be their downfall. Banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let them sing over you with joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. For surely, O Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Psalm 5 is sometimes called the morning psalm because it speaks a couple of times about rising early to bring our requests to God. And it seems to speak of the value in starting the day with God and going to Him and putting the contents of the day in His hands and then expecting to see Him at work. And what we see here is something that we've spoken about a couple of times in the psalm, and I'm sure it's something that we're going to talk about again tomorrow with Psalm 6. These are deep, deep cries for help. Again, we see David not holding back. And so as we go through the Psalms, we're getting a stronger and stronger sense that David, a man after God's own heart, he firmly believes that God expects him to come to him with his pain, to come to him with his fear. We get the sense that this is what David thinks a healthy relationship with God looks like. 2 Psalms in a row, we have David commanding God to listen to him. And tomorrow, when we look at Psalm 6, David is going to take this even further. And then we see something else that we often see in the Psalms. David starts speaking about his enemies. And what David does here is he appeals to God's purity, and he speaks about how evil and God do not go together. And he cries out to God to exercise his power over evil. He acknowledges that God has both the power to rid us of evil and at the same time that God is merciful. that he is a refuge, a protector. And David rejoices and sings for joy because of who God is. Today, I want to invite you and your families to assemble your requests for God. What do each of you long for God to do right now with the evil in this world? What burdens, what evils of the world are heavy on your heart right now? What difficulties do you long to share with God? Maybe it's something personal about this whole crisis. You miss your friends, you're missing graduation, your plans aren't going to happen. Maybe it's the extra stress that you have during all of this to help your kids with school, or you're worried about getting sick. You have to go to work and you're concerned about interacting with too many people, or you're worried about your income. Or maybe you, like the rest of the world, you want to see this virus destroyed. Because even though we don't have the exact enemies that King David had, I think we can all agree that we as humanity, we are facing a number of enemies right now. And Psalm 5 calls us today to cry out to our Creator to be released from evil and from our enemies, to be released from death and destruction. Psalm 5 invites us to appeal to God's power over evil, his hatred of evil, to acknowledge to God that he hates death and disease and destruction and sickness even more than we do. But this psalm also invites us to acknowledge that God has both the power over evil and at the same time the power to give us mercy and protection. Don't only cry out to God to do something about the evil in this world. Celebrate who God is. Celebrate the ways that he's protected and provided for you. Rejoice in the reality that he is our refuge. Rejoice in the reality that he is our shield and that he has protected you. People of God, rejoice and sing for joy in the Lord's protection over you, and may the Lord be with you.